Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the FPL Affairs podcast, the podcast that strips back and lays bare our season-long love affair with FPL. In this special Game Week 2 episode, it's like a unwrapped extra because Bossman Lewis, aka the FPL Affairs Lion, and I just couldn't stop talking about the lessons we've learned more. They were talking points. So anyway, before we get started, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for all of our content, and click the bell to receive notifications each time we release something new. Anyway, enough of my small talk. Let's get on with the long talk with Lewis. Let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He's scored. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Oh, Saka! That is a diamond of a goal.
Normally, I actually struggle for things to come up with for this, but this week I've actually come up with 6.
Okay.
Crazily enough. The first one really was about people making early transfers because this time of the season people just start rushing transfers because of transfer prices changing, and like on Friday with Chelsea's fixtures, it was a combination of, okay, is João Pedro going to go up in price, or also the situation with Cole Palmer and the West Ham assets.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on early transfers?
I pretty much always wait until the Friday to do any transfers. If there's obviously if there's a move that I could potentially get priced out of, I don't check it that much, but I keep an eye on the predicted rises and fallers, and if there's one that looks like it's likely to mess up a move, I'll do it. But outside of that, I always wait. I think.
Because I'm
I think it's so easy for people to on a Sunday night when all the games are finished, and obviously you've been playing FPL all weekend and watching it all because you're in that mode, you're looking at your team and you're really sort of enticed to do a change. And so many people just can't resist that. Whereas 9 times out of 10, if you just put your phone down, wait till Monday or Tuesday and have a think about it, it normally works out for the best. So, but yeah, it is tricky to hold your nerve, I think.
Yeah, my reasoning with Sky's deal this season and how they
Mm,
put the opening to with significantly more games being broadcast,
yeah,
I I suspect we're going to see more Friday night fixtures
yeah,
because of the broadcast. So you're going to have the Friday night one, the
hmm
lunchtime kickoff on the Saturday is going to be TNT Sports. Then you've
yeah,
got 3 o'clock kickoffs. Then there's
5:30,
5:30, which will be broadcast on Sky.
yeah,
Then on the Sunday, you've got the two p.m. kickoffs, the
and your 4:30, yeah.
4:30. Actually, next week
There's a Sunday night game, isn't there?
there's a later one as well.
Yeah,
So as well as the Monday night, which will be Monday nights moved to later on a Sunday because of the international break. But
yeah,
either way, that effectively means the game week starts on a Friday and
yeah.
finishes on a Monday. And
hmm
this was also not necessarily specific, this scheduling, but I try really hard over pre-season to make sure I save in zero point 0.5 in the bank
Okay.
at the start, which was
Is that
really,
to cover is that to cover any like point zero one
yeah,
movements,
because if
basically?
one player goes up that you want to
Yeah,
switch to, like
yeah,
for example, the 7.5s where you've got Chris Wood, Mateta, João Pedro, you kind of think if one of them hits it off and the one you've
yeah,
got gets injured, then loads of people will jump from one to the other,
yeah,
price jumps up, and then you're priced out of it.
yeah. That's actually really
Like
smart. I've
by
never considered
point
that, to be honest with you. Yeah,
by
that's
point
quite.
one. Or if you get a 4 million um or 4.5 million that's basically dead spot or that you thought was a budget enabler,
Yeah.
um, but then doesn't actually play.
Yeah.
So I was glad I did that this weekend because I just thought I want to, and by going what was mentioned before, I wanted to be a nailed on minutes squad this season.
Yeah. Hmm.
Certainly to start the safe picks. I just thought, you know what? Um, after Monday, not Monday, after Friday's fixture, the West Ham Chelsea, I
Hmm.
therefore had in mind of right, I've got Palmer, but is he going to be okay for the next game? Yes, he'd been quiet in the previous game and hasn't scored in open play since
October,
January
yeah.
or something still, despite being on the doing well in the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Largely his positioning being pushed out on the left. He's not as
Hmm.
effective. But anyway, that's going off the point. So I was thinking, right, I've got him and Fulkrug, who's my third forward, with him having gone off at half time.
Yeah.
Is thinking, right, okay, do I need to assess that? And that will be logically take some money out of Palmer to boost up the third forward because I'm not going to go down to Guillou
Okay.
of Sunderland. Um, so, but again, I wasn't entirely sure as to which individuals I'd transfer to. So it was I'll see out, bite the bullet. I've got the zero point 0.5 saved in the bank, so I'll just ride out the weekend, see what
Mm.
happens, have a thing, and as well, there's the European, not European, the Carabao Cup fixtures
Yeah.
midweek week as well.
Exactly.
So I'd hold it, um, and I'm glad I
Yeah.
did because if you think last week,
Yeah.
with the Frimpong injury, one of the one of the popular transfers was Frimpong to Ait Nuri, and
Yeah.
that was therefore
If
up.
you did that, if you did do that one, that was unlucky. I feel sorry for anyone that
Mm,
did that move. And the other thing as well, Matt, is so obviously this week you've got the final.
you okay? You're frozen a bit.
Wi-Fi going down. Um, yeah, I was basically just saying, like, because of the potential transfers coming in, like Sarah, somebody I was, oh, am I hit? You got me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sarah, someone I was looking at, but obviously if Spurs suddenly go and pull out a Paqueta signing or something last minute in that cam position or another centre mid, then that might slightly put me off Sarr, do you know what I mean? So I
Mm.
think that's another good reason to just hold fire on them transfers for this week.
Um, some people may have gone early and done Palmer to Saka, and then 24 hours later, Saka's pulled
He
up
gets
injured.
crocked, yes. Yeah,
I did honestly think and I discussed this with Jack that joined me on the pod last season.
yeah,
One of the options for replacing Palmer to boost funds up front was actually Anthony Gordon
yeah,
because with my reasoning for this from a Newcastle perspective being right, Eddie Howe's proven when he's short on a centre forward, he'll play Gordon there. He's played him before. And Osula's too much of a raw,
yeah.
chaotic rookie at the moment.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it was even if he's come the transfer deadline closes, um, and Isak's still a Newcastle player. Between now and then, this is my thought process on over the weekend was Gordon's therefore going to be playing centre forward likely till September. And then if at the start of September and it was established that Isak was still going to be a Newcastle player, then there'd be the reintegration process. He wouldn't rush straight back into the team. so Gordon would still be there. So I thought
He
it,
was his minutes were very secure, whether that's as
yeah,
a nine or as a winger. Yeah,
um, and it would be Barnes that would drop out if
yeah.
Isak or
If
another centre
Gordon,
forward was present,
yeah,
and Gordon would be moved out to the left.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
he was penciled in, but again, wanted to see out all of the fixtures over the weekend, and
yeah.
glad I did because he's got 3 match suspension now after the red card yesterday.
Think I saw something I saw on Twitter. Somebody tweeted that he'd had 71,000 transfers in before that game was even played. So that move that you mentioned, the Palmer to Gordon move, had probably been quite a popular one with a lot of managers. So um, yeah, you've just got to be patient, man. I tell
Mm,
you.
exactly, because otherwise you've got, yeah, and then will those people be taking a hit to take him straight back
Yeah,
out again?
exactly. Yeah, do you then bench him and wait, or
Mm,
do you take another hit? And by the
mm,
time Friday gets here, who knows what other things will have cropped up. So, I mean, if Strand Larsen does make that move to Newcastle, which is I'd say still 50-50, if that happens before Saturday, then all of a sudden you might have to be making a transfer there, or
mm. But then you get the kind of, if he's at Wolves, you know he's a guaranteed starter, 90 minutes, whatever. If he
yeah,
goes to
and penalties.
Newcastle
Yeah,
until he's actually settled in, and traditionally
exactly,
Eddie
exactly.
Howe doesn't, new signings, they don't
No,
start for a while. They need to
he'll
familiarize
blood them in.
me.
He'll blood them in, won't he? Yeah, you saw that
Um,
with
yeah,
Ramsey
and
Ramsey last night.
the systems and strategies they have in place, that plus the fitness levels of his, because of how intense we play,
Yeah,
is they've got to be up to
you
his
need to be
fitness
at a level.
levels.
Yeah,
So
mm,
whereas you get the average fitness levels of your Premiership player will be here, Eddie
yeah.
Howe's are up
They
there.
demand higher. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, Strand Larsen or whoever could come in. They could be a solid there, but that's not
yeah,
up there. So
yeah.
it
And for
would be
someone like
looking at,
For someone like Strand Larsen, who's a bit of a bigger built kind of guy, you'd imagine might take a few weeks for him to get to Eddie Howe's
mm,
level of sharpness. So yeah, and that was my point. That basically, if you own Strand Larsen as a Wolves player, and all of a sudden he leaves to Newcastle, that's then an extra headache for you. Yes, I
mm,
mean it's better that he plays for Newcastle in the long term, but certainly in the short
mm.
term, if you're short of players, then that is
I
just another
don't
headache.
I don't know whether I'm glad I got him from the start, to be honest,
Yeah,
because then if he does get transferred, then I'd probably think, right, well, if my other two forwards I'm happy with, then I'll go with a 3-5-2, keep Strand
yeah.
Larsen on the bench and see how
Until he starts playing, yeah,
it goes. And then if it's like, no, bad pick, then I'll sell him.
yeah.
Um, but anyway, that's enough about early transfers. I think both
Okay,
of us pretty much cleared how much it can backfire on people.
yeah,
Two, form players. The reason I
mm,
put a question mark for this one in particular was because I think the players who hauled in game week one, blanked in game week two, the players that hauled in game week two, blanked in game week one,
which is
and
always the way. Yeah,
the only consistencies really are a lot of the premiums actually scoring quite low the opening 2 weeks. So
yeah,
in regards to form, it's blanking.
yeah. Your usual names like your Salahs, your Watkins. I mean, Haaland blanked at the weekend again, so the guys that you can typically rely on, they've all dropped in um, some blanks and some quiet performances already. So yeah, it's interesting, and that's why you're seeing a lot of. I don't know if you've seen that. Did you share that screenshot of all the content creators ranks? Like, there's like 8 or
Yeah,
10 of them, and like
there's
not one of them is above 3 million because all of the players that you typically pick that you can rely on haven't had
mm,
the best start, and all the people that don't particularly play it that seriously and pick players based on other reasons than data and stuff are all smashing it. But we'll see how long that lasts, I suppose.
yeah, and I think FPL Harry, he's
Mm,
3.8 million
mm,
now, but looking at his team and a number of the other creators and
yeah,
mine, the big difference really was. was João Pedro for him.
What he had, João Pedro?
Yeah,
Oh,
he had
nice.
João Pedro,
So that just
which
saves them a little bit to the others,
um
yeah.
and I know that FPL Raptors got very similar squad to mine as it goes. He got
Okay,
similar points to me, and he's similar rank to me.
okay.
And he hasn't got Strand Larson. Sorry, he
He's
hasn't got
He's a Man United fan, isn't
he
he?
hasn't yeah, he hasn't got João Pedro. Um
So I bet he's got Bruno, hasn't he?
yeah.
Yeah, and he's probably got a
Um
Man United. Probably got a defender as well.
but yeah, I think this week was very much this weekend very much an aspect of if you had João Pedro, then you had a minimum of an average week or more
Yeah,
solid
yeah,
week.
100%. Yeah. And
Um
again, he's not one that's overly popular with the con. I mean, obviously, FPL Harry's a Chelsea fan, I think, so
yeah.
he's more likely to put Pedro in, whereas a lot of the other ones didn't, and that's again because he is not your typical 90-minute on penalties. I think he
Mm.
might have even got pulled off early in the first game. So again, he's not going to be. He's
Before
one,
the hour. I think it was like a
yeah,
54 minutes or something like
yeah,
that.
but
So
then yeah,
after
so he
game
again,
week one, you would
mm,
have had people more likely to sell him and
yeah,
transfer him
and
in.
also and as well, Matt. So a lot of people that free hit game week two and had that planned in, none of them would have put João Pedro in because what happened in week one, and there was better options on paper. If you were free hitting this week, you'd have gone Gyökeres with the Havertz news. You probably would have put Haaland in at home, and then you might well have done Watkins. So I think anyone
Mm.
that free hit this week would have also not had João Pedro. Um, so yeah, but for I
So,
mean, Brennan Johnson is one that's been on my shortlist. I thought about putting him in this season, but with the fixtures they had to begin with, I just about didn't put him in. But he's obviously scored in both games so far, and he could be another kind of dark horse for form player,
mm,
I think.
but then Spurs are rumoured about
A
transferring
winger.
in a winger. So I think
Yeah.
Brennan Johnson's very much on that with
Yeah.
a week to
Potential
go
risk.
on that sort of
Mm.
watch list that will be
Mm.
see what happens between now and then to determine whether he's a good pick or not.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. And that's the exact same with Ekitike from Liverpool because
yeah,
I knew he'd
he
score goals, I knew he'd get chances,
he's
and
on he's
I
on
knew he'd be a
my
decent radar. Yeah,
shortlist.
I knew he'd be a decent option, but they could have signed Isak a week ago, and I just didn't want the headache of owning him and then 1 week in, 2 week in, having to sell him and move everything
Mm,
around. So he was one that we knew could quite possibly do well. But if you're playing it logically, you can't really own someone that's quite possibly going to be dropped in a week or two. I mean, that's
mm,
obviously still to be as it looks. They probably don't need Isaac, however you say it. They probably don't need him.
yeah,
Looking at Ekitike early on,
no,
but if they're still that adamant on getting him in, then Ekitike just doesn't become an option for me.
mm. But arguably for form, he's for
Right
the
up there, yeah,
pricier at for the pricier
yeah,
um players, so the above 7.5 million across
yeah. Your
all
Watkins, your
positions,
Gyökeres, your
he's
Haaland,
the
yeah.
one that's on a consistent form.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, moving on to three, where I've got premium injuries that the sort of starts. I was kind of half said Palmer and half said Saka. Then I was going to say Sama or something. Um, Paul did put a message saying that Palmer is out and Saka is out. So
For this week.
yeah, and he said to put it politely, he said, um, so my bench is probably um, up the derriere, should I say? Um, mm,
I read earlier that Palmer had a scan today, and it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as they thought it might be. He's probably available for the weekend, but obviously Whether they'll need to risk playing him for Fulham at home is another
Mm.
question. But I think, by all accounts, I think Palmer's going to be fine. I think Saka is the one who's going to be out for a little while. Eight Nori is rumoured for 3 weeks. And who was the other one you said?
Well, there
Sa
you think other premiums. There's Odegaard as well,
yeah, back.
shoulder.
Yeah, yeah,
But he was a differential anyway.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
I'd
it's
say in
thrown a few
terms
spanners in the works, isn't it, for
mm,
any plans that you might have had?
and arguably for those people that rolled their transfer and that have got two free transfers going into game week 3,
Yeah,
it provides an opportune moment to switch around the structure of the team should you wish
yeah.
to, um, without taking a hit, which is what I'm looking at
But the other thing is,
considering.
Matt, as well, if you look at it now, Palmer, if you were to sell Palmer, who are you really moving him to? Like Saka's injured anyway, and he's got
Mm,
Liverpool away. The only one that you could really do is a Man United mid. But then after seeing Bruno's penalty and where he's playing at the minute, I'm not thrilled on that move whatsoever. Cunha would be the one I would possibly move to, but that just feels quite punty. Whereas I think if you keep hold of Palmer and maybe if you can get away with it, bench him for this week, get through the international break where you probably won't be risked that much, and then you've got a
mm,
fresh Palmer coming back after that. So for me, I think I'll probably keep Palmer. Um, yeah, there's no obvious move, is what I'm trying to say. Like if there was like a
yeah, I
Arsenal
think,
at home to someone this week and Saka was fit, then yeah, you'd do it. But
and this kind of rolls us into point 4, which I said forward dilemmas, which is sort of bit on the play on there
yeah,
because of the number of forwards that are blanking at the moment
yeah,
and or minutes not being as secure as they have been,
hmm
and therefore which forward you'd bring in if you were transferring ones. Like for me personally, if I do decide to sell Palmer,
yeah,
possibly just as a use an excuse to readjust the form, but more to address the Fulkrug option. And
okay.
I'd probably downgrade Palmer to somebody.
So you can pair
Um,
that into a move. You can pair that into a move and upgrade a striker
yeah.
somehow. Yeah,
So
fair enough.
it would be saving some money from
Yeah.
Palmer to upgrade the third forward, who'd become my second forward in a way.
If you had the money from the Palmer sale, who would you be eyeing up to replace Fulkrug?
I'll be looking in the 7.5-ish bracket. So the Mateta, João Pedro, Chris Wood, probably.
Yeah, yeah,
Because really below that from the opening 2 games, no
yeah,
one lower than their price has done anything of note. And I mean,
yeah.
Chris
I
Wood's
had, I had,
got some good fixtures apart from game week 4 against Arsenal. Um,
yeah.
João
So obviously,
Pedro,
Wood's gone up to 7.7 now. João Pedro's 7.6. This is obviously an interesting one if he ends up going to Newcastle. But yeah, I mean, Sesko, Richarlison, Strand Larson, Welbeck
that's
to lap.
that's
Yeah,
the interesting thing about Richarlison is at the weekend,
yeah.
um, Thomas Frank actually said,
He's my guy, didn't he? He said he's my number
"He's my
nine. Yeah,
guy, he's my number 9,"
yeah,
which therefore gives the impression that it, Solanke's not gonna, when he's fit enough to start, gonna walk
yeah.
straight back into that
Yeah,
side.
I mean, at the moment, why would you change it? Why would you take him out?
Mm.
And Richarlison will be on penalties as well. You'd have to think whilst he's playing. So if
And he
you want to
seems to
take
have
that,
a good sort of understanding relationship with Kudus already.
yeah, yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that starting 11 changing much at all for Spurs up until
From
Champions League starts to get involved. So yeah,
yeah,
Richarlison could be a good pick.
from what looking at their structure wise from the PSG game and then the Man City game is it looks like
Back four.
the yeah, and then their central midfield pairing check will change. This is what the match of the day pundits, I think, and what
Yeah.
I've noticed, than others will be depending by the opposition. So it's like if it's a weaker opposition, they'll go more
Mm,
along the lines of the youngsters.
yeah.
Um, Whereas if it's a tougher opposition,
They
there's
get the
more
experience with
likes of the
Bentancur and
Bentancur
Paulina.
and
Yeah.
Paulinho,
Mm.
just for that double pivot
Could
in
you do
front
a
of the
move
central.
of if you're doing that double move of Palmer out and your cheap forward? Could you get in Kudus and Richarlison as a? Would you be able to afford that as a double move in? Like if you
Well,
feel like they're gonna link up well and they're gonna keep starting and stuff.
um,
Like
well, if it was downgrading Palmer,
yeah,
then and Fulkrug,
yeah.
that's
Could you?
16.4 million because Fulkrug's gone down by point 0.1. That's 16.4.
Okay,
And Kudus and Richarlison are both 6.5-ish. So I'd have that, so
you could do that quite
that,
comfortably then.
yeah, I'd have like 3
Yeah,
million in the bank
yeah.
after that. Um,
That's the thing. Like you don't always have to spend the money just because you've got it. Like
mm,
that could quite easily be a better option than spending the full amount and not having any left in the bank. But obviously, if there's a better option, then do it. Um, but yeah, they might be the new Kane and Son. You never know.
yeah, potentially. Um, but who would you choose between if you were looking at a forward going into the
Yeah.
weekend with
Hmm.
those? So Richarlison, João Pedro, Wood.
Yeah.
Who would you go for? Mateta as well.
Yeah. It's a good question. I think, and it's not just well, possibly Chris Wood still because I think he's still going to be a great option. But then if they now sack the manager and a new manager comes in and he likes the Brazilian guy better, then Wood could be a risk. I think Wood, or for me, I'd probably go for Richarlison because I like the Bournemouth at home fixture as well. I think they'll have another good win at the weekend, and if you've got Richarlison, there's a good chance he'll rack up some points again.
Mm.
So yeah, but
You mentioned Bournemouth there.
yeah,
In terms of clubs to target, so I've got this as point 0.5.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
for players incoming, what sort of clubs would you target in terms of either ones that are on form that you'd bring in? Because you were just talking about this, but we were just talking about Spurs then, and
Yeah,
perhaps identifying Spurs assets.
yeah.
Other clubs that you would target either end?
It's tricky to know. Like with Leeds, they looked good in their first game at home, and then they didn't even put up a fight against Arsenal away. I mean, you'd have to think that they're going to do better against, teams at home, but it's hard to know. I think West Ham obviously look rocky, but the way the fixture difficulty rating sits at the moment, there's no real like obvious ones. They seem to all have like easy game, hard game, easy game, hard game,
Mm,
which does make it tricky to sort of lock in. Newcastle do now have a good run of three fixtures back to back, but with
mm.
Gordon gone, did you then go to? I don't even know.
Ironic, he's gets sent off, and three
Yeah,
fixtures that
just before
he's
the three
suspended
good
for.
fixtures.
That
I mean, I've seen people moving for Asula in today already, but I wouldn't go there personally. But United play Burnley at home this week, and then they run straight into Man City away the week after, and Chelsea the week after that. So I don't really want to load up on United players at all.
Mhm.
Um,
That's always
Teams to
great.
target. Go on.
Putin is looking beyond the next game week because Man United are a perfect example of that in terms of they've got a plum fixture at home to Burnley,
Yeah,
but then, they
straight into
had
City
Arsenal in
away.
game week 1.
Yeah,
And then after Burnley, as you said, they've got, I think, the Manchester derbies coming up and Chelsea, and
yeah, and an away
they've
game. Yeah.
all while
So
trying to integrate the Mbeumo and
yeah,
Sesko and
I
Cunha.
think looking at it now and the way the fixtures sit, I think. the best way is to kind of have two from each team rather than tripling up on anybody. So like if I
That's
bring
why
in
I'm
one,
nervous about Chris Wood because I've got Murillo and
yeah, already you're
Anderson
doubled up. So
and Anderson already. And
yeah,
if if I were to get Wood in, great. I've got
yeah,
Chris Wood against um, West Ham, but
yeah.
then the following week I've got a triple up of Forest against Arsenal.
Yeah, so I've actually worked it out quite well. So I've got triple Forest. Obviously they haven't been great so far. But I'm free hitting game week 4. Um and to triple up on Liverpool and stuff. So I'll have triple Forest for West Ham at home. The
Mm,
following week I'll be free hitting with no Forest obviously for Arsenal away. And then I'll get my 3 Forest back for Burnley away, Sunderland at home. And then when I get to sort of 6, 7 onwards, I can look to transfer one out. So that's going to work out quite well for me. Um, but yeah, generally I wouldn't be tripling up on anyone unless you've managed to work it out so
mm,
that you are using a chip on a certain week or something.
yeah. Which brings into the final lesson learned
Yes.
really from game week 2 on the using your chips early because
Hmm.
our admin champion, the FBL Affairs Firefly, Mick, has used 2 chips in the opening 2 weeks, and I think he's talking of using a third one in game week
Already.
3.
Wow.
Um, how does that
I mean,
sit
it,
with
it,
you
ca-
just using the
yeah,
chips generally at this point because we've got 2 sets of the chips this season.
exactly. Yeah. The whole dynamics changed because they've thrown in that double chip thing. Everyone that normally holds their bench boost until game week 30, when you get everyone's just kind of a bit more lax with it and they're quite happy to use it early. I still personally didn't want to use bench. I like to get a bit more information. So although
Mm,
you looked at a lot even though you had that wild card opportunity essentially with game week 1 because you can pick any team, until you see lineups and how teams are gonna, you might see that someone's playing that position, someone might be dropped that you don't. I still prefer just to hang on for a few weeks and just get a bit more information. But there was no bad reason to use the bench boost in week 1. Some people did really well with it. But as it stands, I've kept all of mine in the bank, and I don't plan to wildcard until game week 13, at which point I'll then look to incorporate that with a bench boost and stuff at the time. But
mm,
yeah, for me, no early chips, even though we get 2 this year.
mm.
How about you?
Similar. It was
Yeah.
again the uncertainty of pre-season. Yes, pre-season and going into game week 1 is effectively the same as a wild card because you've got unlimited transfers to go
Hmm.
into it. There's still too much
Yeah.
past lessons learned of there can be players that
Unknown.
have
Yeah.
had great pre-seasons and have
Hmm.
looked like solid starters or solid picks, and then they go
Yeah.
into one and they're on the bench.
Marlon comes to mind.
Pardon?
Marlon at Villa comes to mind when you
Mm,
mentioned that.
yeah,
Kieran's best mate.
yeah, yeah. Kieran's best mate. Um, so
Yeah.
that
Well,
and
it looks like we're on the same wavelength with that then. Um,
and
I understand the thought process of getting the bench boost out of the way early and stuff, but I like to, yeah, it sounds like we're doing a similar approach with that, just hanging on to him to see.
and I'm also trying to be more patient than
Yeah,
I was last season. Last season,
yeah,
I planned to use my first chip in game week 6. I ended up using it game week 4 because Liverpool started really well. And
yeah.
I think, no Liverpool because I was like, we don't know how Slot's gonna start. Liverpool
Hmm.
could start. So, and then, they started at super speed. I was just like, I've got no Liverpool assets. Salah's like returning multiple returns every week. I've got to get him in, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Rush to get him in on a wild card, and then he blanks for about 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, you just got to hold your nerves sometimes, haven't you?
And then I think I got Haaland back in and had oh yeah, and then I made like a double transfer. So I had Salah for about 3 weeks, and then I switcheroo to Haaland and had Diaz
Oh
for a
yeah,
few
trying to
weeks
cover him.
until
Yeah,
I um, switched back when there was fixture changes.
yeah.
But anyway, that was
I,
last season. But I want to hold on to my wild card for a bit longer. And
have you got a week's penciled in for the wild card, or are you just going to wait and see?
somewhere between sort of maybe 11, 12, 13 when there's a fixture change
Yeah.
around then.
There's
Um,
there's a massive swing for Liverpool around 13, and that's why up until 13 I'm going with just one Liverpool, and it's probably going to be Gakpo, and I'm hoping that he can half cover Salah, which it looks like at the moment he might do. But yeah, for the first 13, I'm just going to have one Liverpool, and then when I wildcarded 13 and they've suddenly got a load of good fixtures, I will be tripling up on them.
mm, and there's some other top teams who've got some good fixtures.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking at that. I'll be looking at game week 15 as possible, depending how my wild cards turned out. 15 maybe a bench boost, but it may be a triple captain. More likely a triple captain because of the some of the fixtures are out. And what I am thinking now that since I decided against going with bench boost in game week 2 is what FPL Raptor had said that he's considering is using a bench boost during AFCON
Okay.
because we'd be
You get
selling
the extra
Salah,
chance. Yeah.
then and
And
using the
you get the
funds.
extra transfers as well, don't you?
Yeah, you get the extra transfers and use um to try to use the funds downgrading Salah to so it might be a
Yeah.
wild card go Salah and Haaland, and
Hmm.
then it gets to the point going into AFCON, take Salah out,
Yeah.
strengthen the squad and the bench
Yeah.
boost.
I
Um,
suppose the other good thing about that point is with AFCON, it does also make other players more nailed. So
mm,
all of a sudden, like Gakpo, not that he's probably nailed anyway, but
mm,
if Salah's at AFCON, he's going to play on either wing, isn't he? So, for a bench boost, that's quite a good positive to have if you know that you've got more nailed players.
mm. So
Um,
that's kind of where my head's a bit at. But then on the flip side, at the same time, FPL Harry was saying how for the extra transfers on AFCON
mm,
around AFCON time is try to go into it with all your chips used up so you do get those as many extra bonus frees as
yeah,
possible.
mm.
But also not necessarily to then utilize it to take out a load of AFCON
Yeah.
players so that if when you
What game
wildcard
week
or
does that?
so on, don't have
Yeah.
loads in, so then you can just
Okay.
bank up the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
transfers.
What is that
So
around game week? What, 18, 19? Is it somewhere like that?
I think
Just roughly.
it's um game week 15 deadline.
Oh, okay. So it's,
I
yeah,
think um
yeah.
yeah. But
Okay. Oh, just
anyway,
finally on, go on, just finally on that, Matt. So my other chip, my triple captain, I'm doing that quite early. That's going to be done in game week. Is it 4 or 6 that City have Burnley at home? I think it might be game week 6. Yeah, game week 6, Man City play Burnley at home, and I'm going to use my first triple captain that week on Haaland.
mm,
So
good
yeah,
point. Cool. Right.
that was locked
Shortage
in.
on time.
Okay, mate.
So, how can you get in touch? Where can you find us? Our email address is lowercase fplaffairs@gmail.com. On X, our user handle is at fplaffairs. Facebook, the group link is in our description on the YouTube video channel. And alternatively, you could search the Facebook group for FPL Affairs. We should pop straight up. Our YouTube channel is /FPL at FPL Affairs, and the Spotify links are generally found at the bottom of the video, or on Spotify you could search up FPL Affairs. There may still be time to join our leagues if you haven't already. The Classic League code is 12RRCG, or the Classic code is lowercase I 6NQNB. Unfortunately, the head-to-head league is now closed as the season has started. Sorry for that abrupt ending, Mr. Lewis, aka our FPL Affairs Lion Boss Man. We just couldn't stop talking about Game Week 2, and we were reeling away, but we were pretty much done. Anyway, it was just his final thought. But all that's left to say is hope he comes back soon, and keep your FPL affairs under wraps until the deadline. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye bye.